All right, welcome back. This is video number 3 in our system, and we're looking at how to create a great, healthy system to allow our church to develop and disciple leaders into new levels of leadership throughout a leadership pipeline. And I'm excited to bring this session to a close with this third and final video, and we're really going to just tie some things up. So you are working on the different options that you have for prepared training, which is something you need for your onboarding system. And then also your equipped training and your inspired training. All of these are a part of your system for developing leaders. And so I hope you were able to come to some conclusions. If you haven't yet, keep working on that and have some great discussions. I know the church where I led us through that. We had some really healthy, strong discussions to figure out what was going to work best for the ministries of our church in those kinds of training. So I encourage you to finish that off and do the same. And then you want to keep moving forward with that. And I'm going to share again some screens to help us think about how you can do that well. Of these 3 kinds of training, we've got the prepare, the equip, and the inspire training. The prepare training, now, one thing you might be asking is, like, what's it going to be? What's the content of this training? And that, of course, is next month's session. We'll be looking at, it'll all be dedicated to the sessions and the videos next month. We'll be looking at how to find, create, curate, and utilize transformational content so that your training is transformational in the lives of the leaders that you're discipling. So that's going to be the complete focus next month. And for now, you don't need to worry about the content, the exact parts of it, but you are going to be wanting to think about the system you're using to deploy that content. And as we look at, I'm going to back up here. As we look at the equip aspect of this and the inspire aspect of the kinds of training we're going to need, I want to show you a couple of worksheets that are going to be part of your project assignments that help you with this. First, when it comes to the frequency with which you're going to do your equip training, this is a scheduling tool that I'd like you to think through. Now, this tool has been developed by a church that is not just building the leadership pipeline for the core ministry of small groups, but also all of the core ministries of their church. For our purposes in this small group collab, all you're going to need to do is focus on this column right here. And as you can see, we've got the leader level, the coach level, and the director level of the leadership pipeline. And what I'd like you to be thinking through is answer the questions in underneath the titles. So the leaders are going to receive their equip training from a coach. And what we want to know is, how often is that coach going to be training, providing equip training, which is the ongoing training for these leaders so that they can be successful in continuously sharpening their saw and getting better and better at their leadership? How are they going to do that? And how often? Are they going to do it once a month? Are they going to do it once a quarter? At Salem, where I was most recently, our church decided in our small group ministry to use, and all the ministries actually, we decided to use huddles and to do that once a month. And because it was once a month, the length was short. As a matter of fact, what we decided to do, because so many of the leaders had children, is we had our meetings at 9 o'clock in the evening, and we only went for 40 minutes at 9 o'clock once a month, and that worked well. Now, if you only provide your training once a quarter, it might need to be longer, like an hour or more. For a short training, when it's more frequent, it can be anywhere from 45 minutes to 30 minutes to maybe even 15 or 20. And the setting you get to decide from the worksheet you were working on right before this when you looked at the three options for each level. Now, the for each kind of training. At the coach level, they're going to receive their training from the small group ministry director, the different coaches. And so, how often is that director going to meet with the coaches to provide equipped training for them so they can become better coaches? Will it be once a month very frequently or more like once a quarter? You could change this to whatever rhythm you want to have, but get it figured out now and then get it in your calendars. If it doesn't get scheduled, it usually doesn't happen. So you want to get this figured out. What are we going to try? And you can always change it if it's not working. But what is our plan? How are we going to do this? What's the system of frequency and length of training that we're going to provide for these leaders? And then finally, at the senior level, this is usually a lead pastor, an executive pastor, or maybe elders decide how often they want to meet with the directors to provide equipped training for them. So here you are. This worksheet will help you to figure those things out and then get it in your calendars. And it helps you to figure out the priorities of life by getting in there first. Another tool that I want to share with you is one that will help you to plan an inspired training event. Again, the inspired training is for all the leaders in that ministry gathered together once, twice, maybe more than that, but usually maybe just once or twice a year. And in this gathering, you're going to provide one kind of training that will apply and be relevant and really help all the leaders. So maybe it's a more general leadership tool that could be used at any level of the leadership pipeline, but you want it to be great because you're asking your leaders to come and to give up a period of time in their lives, and you want to connect them and their leadership activity and ministry to the greater purposes and vision of your church. So you want to be able to really nail this and make it really good. So I've got this form that helps you to plan an inspired training event and helps you to think through all the different things you need to think through and what you're going to include and not include. Notice down here at the bottom, what's the budget we have to work with? That's a great one. When we started planning Inspire events, we'd never done that before. We built a pipeline at the church I was at previously, and we decided, we're going to do this. We're going to do it twice a year. And we started planning the first one, and then in the middle, we realized we don't have a budget. So you may be in a church that's never had inspired training events either. So you're going to want to think through the budget aspect of this and maybe even have to make a request for budgeting for it. But when you know the dollar amount you're working with, then you know the kind of event you can plan and where you can invest money in helping your leaders get inspired for ministry and the further movement of the kingdom of God. So all of the questions are here and an opportunity for you to flesh it out. So I'd like you, this is another assignment, a project assignment would be assign a couple of people, or maybe your whole design team wants to do this, or maybe there's another team that needs to do this, but plan your first inspired training event. Get it on the calendar, figure out what it's going to be, how you want it to be, and then provide this great shot of inspiration for your leaders to let them know what they do matters, celebrate what they're doing, celebrate what God's doing through them, and have fun looking forward to the ministry that God has you moving into and toward. So these are the two assignments I want to give you now to finish off your system. All right. Our next session, we're going to be looking at content, but over the next month, you're going to have time to be able to work on these projects. And I'll be sending you an email listing all of the assignments that we're going to be utilizing moving forward. And what I'd like you to do is to be thinking about all of these assignments and who is going to be responsible for each one, and then plan some design team meetings to get together and do the work together, or bring completed work and discuss, and also answer questions that need to be answered as a team, or make decisions that need to be made as a team to keep this moving forward and continuing your process of building a great leadership pipeline for your church. You'll want to finalize your onboarding system. You're going to want to finalize a leadership application. You're going to want to be looking at your role descriptions and getting them as far along as you can without having the content pieces nailed down yet. You're going to want to uh, come finish that worksheet, if you haven't yet, of what's your leadership development strategy as a church. And then those last two assignments I just shared with you. So that's what you got on tap for this month. A lot of great work to do. Again, the system work that you're doing is creating a system foundation that will allow your leaders in a clear way and a very inspiring way. You're creating a pathway, a developmental pathway that they can move through to be able to serve at new areas of responsibility and levels of leadership. This is how you're going to disciple leaders into greater and greater responsibility in the kingdom of God. So what you're doing, even though it may feel like really hard grunt work, it's really important work. So I want to encourage you to give your best efforts to this. Once it's done, it's done. You can tweak it, but you won't have to redo this over and over again. So you've got a month. Apply yourselves, work really hard. Because it's hard, I'll be praying for you, and I look forward to when we meet again in the next session.